What's up, man?
What you got there?
Got the long boy today.
Oh, yeah?
Yep. Did you get your atmospherics yet?
What's that? No.
Okay.
In the basement.
0.2 left shoulder.
Hey, thanks, Father.
Hey, man, what are you milling the target at?
What am I whatting?
What are you milling the target at?
Jiggle. Uh-huh. Yeah.
That's gonna mess up your barrel harmonics.
I think I might.
Same thing. This guy on there?
Yeah.
Put on the barrel harmonics off.
It's not attached to the barrel, though.
It doesn't matter though. It doesn't matter.
Yeah?
Yeah, just give that thing a jiggle. Easy, easy. Don't lose my zero.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
I spent all my money on this, so that's all I have.
Cool.
I had to trade my car for it.
Yeah?
Kind of a draft in here. Can't really tell where it's coming from. Might be like a 2 mile per hour headwind, I'd say. I'd hold left about 0.2.
Again, man. Again with the ghillie suit. Come on, man. It's enough of this. It leaves debris everywhere. It smells really bad, and you're pig pen. It's a dust poof everywhere you go.
I'm just trying to like train how I fight. Oh yeah, there it is. Yeah, it's coming from up here. The wind's coming from up here. About 4 mile per hour. Yeah, what's the BC on this thing?
No idea.
Look into, you know who Brian Litz is? You should
No.
look into Brian Litz.
Who the hell is that?
He's pretty much my Jesus. Okay.
And, you know, the pooping outside, you don't have to do that. We got 3 bathrooms here, bro.
No, I'm just training how I fight.
Sure. Okay. Oh, what the fuck? What is this?
My Gilly. Yeah, I'm milling it at 24.9 yards. Man, it's kind of tough to get in my modified Gurkha with the bent knee over here. Breathe. Reticle squeeze.
Do you mind?
Breathe. Reticle. There you go. That looked like a good one. Breathe. Reticle. Breathe. You might have jerked that last one. Yeah, so the Coriolis effect. You know how the toilets spin one way on the northern hemisphere and not in the southern hemisphere? That's kind of what your bullet's doing. So in the northern hemisphere, I believe it's clockwise. Bro, did you catch my vapor trail on that? I feel like I'm getting some gnarly spin drift right now.
I highly doubt it.
This is where your bullet's kind of moving in correlation to the rotation of the earth. So you don't really have to take that into effect here. I mean, you can if you want, but it's really not going to throw your shot off too bad. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Rob's Rifle Rants. I'm your host, Rob, and today we're going to be breaking down my precision rifle that maybe you've seen in some other videos that I've come out with. Before I get into it, I've been getting a lot of questions lately. People asking me, Rob, why do you do it? You some kind of YouTube junkie? Why are you making all these videos? And I want to address to these people that the goal of this channel is to kind of try to make precision rifles cool again. Insert astronaut meme, it always was. But, I'm trying to get some exciting, fun content out there, maybe even erotic at times. Who knows what we'll get into. But I want to make this channel, kind of an outlet for precision shooters to come and just have a good time. Nothing too serious. So today I'm going to break down this build I got going right here. Just like any good knight names his sword, I feel like long gun shooters should be able to name their rifles too. So the name Pamela Anderson has been bestowed upon this rifle. mainly because I'm just a big fan of her work. Everybody say hi to Pam. Thank you. And then we're just going to get into it. So for this build, I know for my background in particular, I'm not a PRS god or anything like that. You know, I've done probably 2 matches. This build is kind of designed by a guy who precision shooting was his trade in the military, getting out into the civilian world of precision shooting, kind of taking what I've learned from the military and applying it to this build. So, you know, so I'm not the all-knowing of match shooting builds or anything like that, but I feel like I got a pretty damn good setup here. So as you can see here, you may be thinking, damn, you know, I don't have money to build something like this. This guy must have a ton of money or sponsorships. Nope, I pretty much was on ship making quite a bit of money on deployment, and like any good corporal of Marines does when he makes a lot of money in a small amount of time, you blow it on something really cool. You know, some guys do Dodge Challengers and things like that. I pretty much blew it all on this guy right here. So I don't have any affiliations with any of these companies, just like my AR build. I bought all these parts from these different companies and they don't know I exist at all. So, so I'm not advertising by any means. This is totally unbiased. I just picked what I liked. So let's get into it. All right, starting with the glass. As many of you out there might already know, I'm a dirty little slut for some good glass, okay? I just think the technology in them, they're like little metal tubes of black magic that let you shoot a projectile out to, you know, 1.5 miles at times, you know, plus, depending what caliber you're shooting, right? So I am just like mind boggled by the technology that goes into these. So I feel like, you know, having a good piece of glass is a crucial part of having a good setup. So I was in between a couple different companies, mainly Leupold and Vortex, because they offer a kick-ass military discount. You know, that's pretty much the quickest way to my heart. So I was in between the Leupold Mark V and the Razor HD from Vortex. They both give awesome discounts. Leupold's like 40% off in their VIP program. Vortex is like 30, I want to say, on Expert Voice. So great discounts on there. But the biggest difference I saw between these two scopes is weight. So if you've ever picked up a Razor HD, that thing is a thick bitch. That thing's a brick. It's like 125 pounds, I'm pretty sure. So comparing those two, you know, and you're looking at this build, you're like, Rob, why do you care about the weight of your scope? Your rifle's already, you know, 700 pounds. So the Leupold rep said something that really stuck into my head. He was explaining that if you have a heavier scope on top of your rifle, whenever the inertia of the recoil comes back, it's gonna be prone to move in between your Picatinny rails more and kind of beat up your mount a little bit more and want to battle gravity, basically, which may end up throwing off your zero, is kind of what he was explaining. And that, you know, granted, he was a Leupold rep, so he's probably just trying to gas his shit up. It stuck with me. So, you know, that kind of makes sense in my head, that having a lighter scope is gonna stay in place a little bit better than a heavier one. So ended up going with the Mark V HD. And if you're wondering what HD stands for, it's not high definition, it's high density. So you have thicker lenses which capture those light beams and converge them a little bit more, so you have a crisper image, you know, back here just gangbanging your retinas. So, you know, just a little side piece there. I went with Milrads. I know some of you MOA guys out there are, you know, getting heated right now, but honestly, I picked Milrads because I have used them more often. The difference between 0.1 mils and 0.25 MOA, it's a very minuscule difference. So I just picked what I learned on, what I know best, what I can calculate the quickest. Also, if I ever need to adjust artillery while I'm shooting a PRS match or anything like that, I have that capability. So you can suck on that, MOA guys. So I went with mils. This is a 25 power optic, and that's quite a bit of magnification. And I never really thought I would need 25 power until from the platoon we went from 12 power Schmittenbenders to the 25 power ATACers from Night Force. And I'm like, I don't need all that magnification. I'm going to lose my field of view, things like that. And then I started shooting on the ATACers, and next thing you know, I'm just fucking cranking on that bitch to 25 like every shot. So I came to a quick realization that having a lot of magnification is pretty sweet. So yeah, it does shrink your eye box and things like that, but now I basically have like a little spotting scope on my gun already, so I can use this to spot other people's rounds as well a little bit better. So I went with a 25 power, and I really like it. So let's get into the reticle. So I went with the Horus Tremor 3 reticle. I think it's a gangster ass reticle. And I'll put up a little graphic of it. And I know looking at it right away, you're like, damn, Santa can put some presents under this bitch. This is a Christmas tree ass reticle. And you're right, it does look pretty intimidating. And when we got them in the platoon on the ATACers, the first thing I was thinking is, damn, I gotta teach this system to a bunch of crayon-eating idiots that don't know how to hygiene themselves properly, or update their car insurance. So I was pretty intimidated for that fact as well. But once I got used to it, it made me such a faster shooter because I got used to holding. I knew how to hold before, just using a regular mil dot reticle and things like that. But, when I had that reticle, I wasn't scared to, throw a couple clicks on that bitch, kind of throw my data on my elevation. But once I learned how to use the Tremor 3, I feel silly now kind of manipulating my turrets, put my data on. Because it just makes you quicker. The mil dots in here, you can calibrate to your specific caliber and how it battles wind, using a kestrel and things like that. It has mile per hour for movers, so it gives you a good roundabout for that, which is cool. It gives you like a 12-inch hasty kind of thing. So I just think it's an awesome reticle. Yeah, it's busy. Yeah, it's a lot to take in at first, but I'm just a little obsessed with it. So I went with that, and I love it. All right, let's get into our mount here. I just went with Leupold's. I think it was one of their better mounts at the time, and I got a pretty good deal on it. It's an all one-piece guy. If you're building for the first time, make sure you get some good mounts. Spur mounts are awesome. LaRue mounts are awesome. All the big scope companies have pretty good mounts that you can buy from them. But even if you have, a kind of lower budget scope, some good mounts that can keep your scope in place is going to be crucial. These things are cradling your pride and joy up here. And that's what's going to keep your zero. So I recommend investing in some good mounts. Make sure you torque them down to spec and things like that. Also, some things that people don't realize is the cant that you need on your mount or your mounting system. So usually what you want is either a 20 MOA canted mounting system or a 20 MOA canted rail system. Unless your zeros, kind of farther out than 100 and things like that, a 20 MOA either or is going to help you save some mils, or help you save some mils or MOA on your zero. Okay, so basically what it's doing is kind of canting your scope down a little bit so you can match up that bullet trajectory a little bit nicer instead of having to crank further down and adjusting your zero stop even more and things like that on your scope, and you'll end up losing some of your adjustments up here. Do some research what range you want to zero and things like that. 20 MOA is what we always used in the platoon. So for like our M110s that didn't have a cant on the rail, we had to use 20 MOA mounts. And then for our M40s that did have cant on the rail, we had to use 0 MOA mounts. We use LaRue mounts typically, and they worked great. So just a little side piece on that. Okay, moving down into the action. Okay, I went with a Curtis Axiom action. And honestly, you know, there was a lot of good different companies that you can pick from, short action customs, things like that. I went with the Remington 700 kind of model, but I knew Curtis was a good brand. I knew some dudes that had them, and I just wanted to make sure I had a custom action. So I went with the Curtis Axiom. It's a little bit cheaper than some of their other models, and the biggest difference I found was the more expensive ones had it was all the same metal coming into the mount, the Picatinny mount. So that was the biggest difference, which as long as those screws don't back up, I'm going to be cool. But I got a 3-lug bolt here, and I got some sick fluting going on. Does fluting do anything for you? I don't think so. If you know something that I don't, go ahead and throw it in the comments. You might hear fluting sheds weight, you know. But to be honest, I just think it looks nice. Maybe a little less friction in there. I don't know. But I think it looks cool, which, as many of you know, is a priority for me, is looking cool. So you get a bunch of different options for throws and things like that. This is a 60-degree throw. Got a nice big old dummy thick handle on there. And I got this action actually paired up with a Masterpiece Arms barrel. So on Masterpiece Arms website, they already had these barreled actions put together for me. So I was like, shit, surely Masterpiece Arms can put together a good barrel. They're huge in the match world. So I was like, shit, I'll just do that. That sounds like a little bit easier process for me. Other barrel considerations I had were Bartline or Proof Research. The Bartline guys came in and talked to us one time about how their button barreling reduces the stress on the steel and is better for barrel harmonics and things like that. Whether that's true or not, I'm no Scientologist, so I don't know for sure, but I ended up going with Masterpiece Arms. It's a hand-lapped match barrel. I got 24 inches, so we're working with some length here. 1-to-8 twist. I am shooting 6.5 Creedmoor. The reason I chose 6.5 is because, you know, it's kind of an in-between round of having like a high-end precision round like the, 300 PRC or 6.5 PRC or one of these like crazy advanced cartridges that they have nowadays. It's kind of in between, so I can hunt with it. Anything in North America, it battles wind a lot better than 308. It's relatively inexpensive and relatively easy to find. So I feel like 6.5 was a great option for somebody getting into the competition world without like breaking the bank. So I feel like I can still compete with it, but I'm not spending all of my money because I'm not a rich man. With this setup, I'm shooting probably around a half MOA. The last time I zeroed, I'm shooting some Venn diagrams, some butthole tight groups with this, so I'm pretty happy with it. Working our way down to the muzzle brake. So right here, I have the Area 419 Hellfire on here. I think it's a really cool brake. It looks aggressive as hell. It really does its job. I mean, I'm not shooting a huge caliber anyway, and my rifle's like 175 pounds, so you know, there's not a lot of recoil to deal with, but I feel like this does a really good job. Anybody standing next to me absolutely hates me. So that's how you know you have a really good brake. Also, this is a self-timed brake. So what that means is many of you guys who have put brakes on before, you know, you're sitting there and you're putting a few washers on, you're cranking it all the way down. Fuck, that didn't match up. Take some washers out, cranking it down. Fuck, a little too much. Try to find an in-between little washer. Crank it down. I need a little bit more. You put a screwdriver in there. Next thing you know, you're fucking up your brake and things like that. So to avoid all that, Area 419 kind of came up with a cool design with this collar mechanism. So basically, you tighten your brake all the way down, and then you can adjust where the porting is via this little unlocking collar. So that was a really nice, made it a lot easier for my dumbass to put on correctly. So I'm happy with that. I probably am going to replace this soon with a Surefire brake so I can run my 7.62 can. Just so I can really struggle to walk through doors with this thing. It's already longer than balls. The trigger. So I went with a Trigger Tech Diamond, and I'm really impressed with it. So a lot of people before, I haven't had a lot of experience on aftermarket precision rifle triggers except for like the Geisleys that we had in the Mark 13s. And I've tried like a few of my buddies' precision rifle builds and things like that. But before that, before I bought this, I really hadn't had a lot of experience. So I just knew Trigger Tech puts out some of the best products in the match world. So I figured to complete this build, I want something, you know, cream of the crop. So I went with Trigger Tech. And before this trigger, I would always hear people, you know, damn, that trigger breaks like glass, man. It breaks like glass. And I never really knew what the fuck they were talking about. So until I got this trigger. So, in this thing, it's a 2-stage. Both stages are adjustable to like just over a pound, which is fucking nuts. And you know, that first stage is just smooth as hell, and then it breaks like glass, man. I don't know how else to describe it. They were right, you know. There's like a very finite point where it just kind of shatters and your round goes off. It's very pleasant to shoot. Probably the best precision trigger I've felt. And similar to glass, I'm a dirty little slut for a 2-stage trigger. I just like, it gives me a little peace of mind knowing right where that wall is, instead of just already being at the wall for whatever reason. It's just a personal preference, I guess, but I love a 2-stage trigger. I like the Geisleys that we had in the Mark 13s as well. We got them in and we were kind of thinking, doesn't Geisley like specialize in AR triggers? But you know, they put out a phenomenal precision rifle trigger, I thought too. So the Geisleys are nice. Timney puts out a really good trigger as well. So you got a lot of options out there. I like a flat face trigger. This may be a placebo effect. I don't know, but I feel like I can pull it directly to the rear a little bit better than the curved trigger. I don't know if that's true or not, but it makes me happy inside. Makes me warm and fuzzy inside. So I went with a flat face. So working my way down to the chassis system, I went with Masterpiece Arms. Again, they're a very reputable brand in the precision rifle world. But I wasn't a huge fan of the look of their skeletonized chassis. Some other honorable mentions were KRG Whiskey 3. I was debating between that. I think those look sexy as hell. They come with like folding option and things like that too. But my buddy was going to build one with that chassis. So I'm like, all right, man, I'll switch it up. I won't copy you. We can't be rocking the same bolt guns. That's just not cool. So I wanted to have something my own. I didn't know anybody that had these Matrix chassis. I like this kind of almost traditional looking design back here with the hole in it and things like that. I thought they looked real nice. I have some locking rings back here to adjust my length of pull and cheek pieces. Um, but one complaint that I do have with this, so I like this hole, so I was thinking, I could wrap my thumb if I wanted to. I usually don't anyway, but I have that option. And then once I got the chassis, I can't even reach the fucking trigger. So I was like, damn, that is a shame. But I was watching a video of it, and a guy was talking. He was like, yeah, we just designed that so you can easily pick up your rifle in between stages or something like that. So I was like, okay. I mean, damn, that kind of sucks. But I still think it looks nice. And also, it came with a couple knickknacks that I thought were really cool. I have a thumb shelf here, as well as like a trigger finger wall, I guess you would call it. So I can get a 90-degree trigger every time. It's feels a little bit like cheating, to be honest with you. But as you can see here, it came with a bunch of different options for different hand sizes, as well as the grip. And I mean, it doesn't get more of a pull than that, and I'm not really even trying to do anything. So that's pretty cool. I kind of feel like I'm cheating, but it's cool. Now, some of you may have said in your heads, Rob, why don't you have a really cool scope level hanging off the side? How do you know, when your scopes? How are you going to know when you have scope cant? And I will rebuttal with this. I have a bubble. See if we can let you see it. I have a bubble built into my chassis right here. It's the little bead bubble, so it won't break into two, which I've heard of people that happening to them before. So as long as I take my time and level my scope, I can just look down at this little guy, and I'm good to go, man. Thought that was a really cool touch. I don't have to have any crazy shit hanging off the side of my scope. Some of you guys think it looks cool. More power to you. Always try to look cool. So yeah, so I really like that. Going down here, I wish they would have 90-degreed this magazine well off, so I could like load into barricades and stuff a little bit easier. Maybe this is better to like rest on a nice bag or something like that. I don't know. I don't know what their thought process was behind that. But I personally kind of would have preferred a 90-degree. If you know the answer to this, please let me know in the comments, because I don't. Now, all along here, this is their RAT system. So the rapid adjustment technology is what they call it. It's basically just Arca rail all down here, so I can manipulate my bipods just by loosening this up and sliding it back and forth. Same thing with a tripod, so I can get like perfect tripod placement on that, which I really like. I also have a little bit of Picatinny rail up here just in case I ever want to run a Magnus Universal night sight, which honestly I probably won't ever fucking do, because I will never be able to afford that unless this channel blows off, baby. In the meantime, I could maybe throw a laser on there or something, a flashlight, maybe a little mount for my phone so I can like watch hentai while I shoot or something like that. So, it's nice to have the option, I guess. So going to the bipods, I went with Atlas just because I feel like I just wanted some good bipods. I already had the whole build set up. I'm like, I can't cheap out on the bipods right now. So I went with Atlas. They're nice. They're not the most expensive on the market, but they're really nice bipods. They adjust really nicely and easily. They look really awesome. You can get spikes for them. This is the Cal model, so they sit a little wider than the V8s, but they're nothing too crazy. I know if you're looking to build your own, Harris is a great option. I've seen those beat the shit. They're not that expensive. Try to stay away from like those cheap plastic Magpul bipods if you're looking for like a precision rifle build. I would recommend Harris is a great option. If you're trying to go top of the line, Accutech have some pretty crazy looking bipods. They are like really fucking aggressive, and they make your gun look like it could just like walk towards you and kick your fucking ass at any moment. So that's a cool look, you know, if you want to go with that. I paired these up. It was hard for me to find an Arca Rail adapter, so I went with a 419 adapter for this guy to match up on the Arca Rail. My sling. So I'm rocking some OG shit. This is Hog Saddle Sling. I've had this for a while. It's got some sentimental value to me. I've brought it through like every course with me. And I know maybe a lot of you don't rock slings on like maybe your competition builds. Like sling tension might be a thing of the past with all these nice new tripods and things like that. But I like the ability to clip in if I ever have to with a little D-ring or carabiner on my belt. It's just the way I was taught. I can unclip from this at any time. Also, I just like to be able to carry my firearm on my body if need be. You know, this fully slung like hangs down to my shins, but but I just like the capability of being able to just pick it up with my body and move it around. Just got some QDs on it. You know, I just love my old Hog Saddle Sling. All right, so I think I pretty much covered everything there is to cover on old Pam here. If you have any more questions or something I didn't cover, go ahead and say something in the comments for me. Please try to comment something. It helps me get thrown in the algorithm to bring this channel to the top, which is where we're trying to go. So, I mean, I had a guy just comment to tell me I'm pretty the other day. So, I mean, I appreciate that. Keep throwing stuff like that down in the comments, stupid stuff, crazy stuff. I'll definitely read them and comment on some of them, things like that. Try to give me a like and subscribe if you like this video. I have nothing in return to give you but some more content. So if you got any gun videos you want me to make in the future, throw those down there as well. That is all I have. So keep partying. Side note, if any of you guys are out there are wondering, it is okay to hold your homie's hand in public. I'm sure he's thinking the same thing. So just go for it, and stop kidding yourselves. All right. That's all I got. See you guys.